Well, hello. Thank you, Leanne. Straight in off the bat with a like. That's how we like it here. How are we doing, everyone? It's lovely to have you with us this evening for a bit of a new venture, but hopefully one that will stick around and we can have much, much fun with. So, today is the first Beardychat stream, where we're kind of doing it like an old school call-in show, where we talk about a subject, and then you guys can call in via the medium, hopefully mainly of Zoom. You'll see all the details here. Hang on. Along here, down here. These are the details if you wish to join in the conversation. So I'll be bringing people in one person at a time. So queue up in the waiting room, and then I'll bring you in so that you can all tell your story on the subject. So, the Zoom code is 490-745-1238, and the password is Beardychat. So, let's get... Hey, Mike Allen Pugh's gone in there already. So, the first person... so, let's talk about what we're talking about tonight. The paranormal. I've been interested in this ever since I was a wee nipper. My nan used to... Quite strange when you think about it, but my nan used to take me to various cemeteries in Essex. I used to love walking amongst the tombstones, looking at the dearly departed, and I was absolutely fascinated. And then that got me onto being interested in ghosts and the paranormal. Now, the whole point of doing this stream is not for ridicule. There is going to be no taking the piss out of each other, what people have experienced. The fact is that whether you believe in ghosts or not, something happens that is experienced by people all over the world. We have some... Whether the experience is purely scientific, whether it's paranormal, I know everyone can say, well, the jury's not out. If science can't explain it, then it's just bollocks. But we don't know why it happens. So we just want to investigate that. We want to tell our stories, and we want to do it in a space and a place where people can just be open about their experiences, because they absolutely fascinate me. Whether you've seen something fly off a shelf, whether you've seen a dead relative sitting at the end of the bed. All of this is absolutely fascinating stuff. So I'm so looking forward to this. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. Okay, so the first person I'm going to bring in this evening is the lovely Ed Osborne. Ed is a very good friend of mine. We've played in bands together on and off for years. He's a fantastic guy. And Atta, long time no see. How the hell are you? Lovely to have you back with us. So we're going to bring Ed in now. Hopefully this is going to work. Let us see. Right. Ed is being admitted as we speak. Let's hope he's not gone for a toilet break. Oh, he's in. Okay, we have an Ed. Can you hear me, Ed?
Hello, Mike. Yes, I can.
Excellent. Stuff's working, which was better than it was earlier. So
technical glitches out of the way.
I know. We've got probably a little bit of a break up here, but we'll persist and we'll see how we get on. So, Ed.
Yeah.
Where are we going to start? How much experience have you had with the paranormal?
It's a difficult thing to talk about, really, isn't it? Because it's something that is always going to leave you open to ridicule. But my experience is mainly based on the house I grew up in and people I've lived with. Just to give you a bit of a background, I was born in Ipswich around the year of 1987, the year of the hurricane, actually. We moved out to the countryside. My dad was lucky enough to get a place before house prices went crazy.
Right.
And it was an old 17th century, late 17th century house, I guess.
Cool.
Timber front. So already kind of setting the scene for your traditional haunted house. But I'm fairly skeptical personally. But it's just a case of there's too many people I know who aren't schizophrenic or crackheads who experience stuff. Not all of them, though. Not for you. But yeah, I think my main kind of awareness of it was my parents weren't the type of parents to say there's no such thing as ghosts. They were very much believers.
Okay.
Certainly my mum was. She'd experienced stuff as a child, and yeah, she kind of carried that with her. Whereas I don't think my dad was until we moved to the place I was talking about. But yeah, I think, again, being an old house, you've got a lot of weird noises anyway. You know, if anyone who's lived in a timber frame house, you know that the timber dries out and you creaking and all that. And I think with a lot of it is, you know, you hear something or see something in the corner of your eye and your mind fills out the blanks.
Yeah.
There was one particular incident where my brother at the time, he'd been living up north, he was back in the house as well. And for a while, my mum and dad had been complaining about hearing footsteps coming up our wooden stairs. Now, the wooden stairs weren't particularly old. They'd been moved from one part of the house to another. So that makes it stranger. But yeah, it was like a footsteps followed by a dragging. I mean, this is going to sound like your cliched ghost coming up the stairs kind of thing, but that's what it was. There was one particular night where it was so loud, I think my brother, who was staying at the time, woke up and was actually standing on the landing with a cricket bat when I went out because he thought someone was coming in the house.
Jesus.
Or was broken in.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was numerous other like little things. My mum saw various. I mean, she woke up and thought my dad was in the bedroom, and it turned out my dad was still out on his night shift, and she woke us up saying that there was someone in the house, and we searched it, nothing.
Stuff like that must be absolutely terrifying.
It is, yeah. And for me, I had a really nice childhood, and I don't think it was up till really my teenage years I really kind of started taking notice of this stuff. And obviously, you know, it doesn't help when your parents, who are your main influence, are telling you they've seen stuff as well. So yeah, I spent many nights shitting myself, I'll be honest.
I can imagine. I've been in a situation where I joined a ghost hunting group for a while.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember.
And we went to stay. There was it's in Saffron Walden. Sadly, they don't allow people. I think they've changed it now. But it was a youth hostel, and it was a really old grain farm, and had like all the grain farm pulleys and everything. And the story was that two guys had got into an argument, and one of them had hung the other one off the grain sack hoister. And after there was loads of things reported in that place, and they said, if you want, you've got the place for the night, you can stay there if you wish. So me and this one other guy, he'd ridden down from somewhere stupid, so we said, okay, we'll stay there for the night, and we decided to stay in the main room where this had happened. And of course you're already filled with the stories and everything, so you're feeling completely
on edge.
Yeah, I think I literally laid with my back to the room and just faced the wall because I was shitting myself so much. But just in the early hours of the morning, just this massive bang sound just came from the middle of the room, and just absolutely out of nowhere. You know, there's no doors there's no anything. It was just this bang, absolutely, and absolutely, the nearly went catatonic. I was just completely shit up, and just the atmosphere it creates in you, doesn't it? There is a genuine terror that you feel. You can be the bravest person in the world, but when you come up against something like that, where you've got no idea what it is, where it is, what it's going to do, and it could all be circumstantial. It could just be, you know, you're just so heightened and on edge that your brain's playing tricks on you. But at the time, it's...
So I take it you hadn't slept till that point. You'd been awake, or was it just too weird an atmosphere to sleep in?
I'd probably maybe dozed off a little bit, but most of the time I was just laying there facing this wall thinking, what the hell am I doing here? So, but no,
regardless of whether it's haunted, you're going to be thinking, what am I doing in an abandoned silo where two people have an argument and hung?
I'm sleeping in a room with a strange man I've only just met tonight. This could go one of two ways. But no, it was. I can absolutely sympathise with your mum, especially when you've got kids in the house. And I don't know what would be scarier, finding that you've got a ghost in the house, or finding that there is actually a living person in the house you don't know. I don't know which would be worse.
I don't know really. I guess with, you know, a living person, you haven't got that time to think about it and think about what it is. Whereas, you know, if there's nothing there, you're still going to be constantly thinking, well, what the hell was it?
Mm. How was your mum after
Um,
that experience?
she's remarkably, you know, she's not like, she was never frightened of it as such.
Mm.
She was just very matter of fact, like there's something weird in the house. It frightened, you know, because my younger brother was a lot younger than me, and I was, you know, quite young at the time. I think by that point, maybe one of my sisters was married and moved out, and my brother was back and forth because my older brother was back and forth because he was a mature student up north.
Mm.
But yeah, there was several incidents like that, and obviously, I'm saying that my mum is a believer, so she's, you know, I want to make it clear I'm not completely thrown in by this. She could well just be susceptible to believing things like that more than others, and is more likely to see them because I think in the dark it's quite easy for your brain to fill in the pictures of what aren't there because you're not getting that stimulation through your eyes. So
Yeah.
I think you can conjure up things. I mean, I think there's been studies done where they've shown people something in the dark, and like a large percentage of them came up with a face.
Mm.
There's an interesting thing about the night hag. You heard that phenomenon?
No, do tell.
There's a common thing which people see. They call it the night hag because it generally seems to come, you know, what's the word? Visualize itself as a face of a sort of haggard old woman, you know,
Okay.
pale face, that kind of thing. And it's really common, and they associate it quite a lot with sleep paralysis.
Mm.
There was a friend of mine actually, I was talking to him today at work because I was talking about this, and he was telling me how he'd had a few nights of like restless sleep, and he woke up with like a hooded figure looking over him. And at the time, you know, he was obviously aware of it, but couldn't do an awful lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, apparently it's a really common phenomenon. A lot of people experience it.
And I don't.
Sorry, carry on.
Sorry, I don't know whether it's the fact of because of I've had sleep paralysis once, and it was it was triggered by a very strange dream, and
Yeah.
I had that feeling of I was pinned down and I felt something crawl up my body, and then it dissipated and I shot out of bed, went downstairs, didn't go back in the room for a few hours. But I don't know whether it's the fact of once we experience this paralysis, if our brain has sort of then interprets that in its own way, so it almost sort of forces us to see something rather than just being, oh, you're just paralyzed. It's almost like in a dream, isn't it? In dreams, you respond to certain stimulus and you may go to an image or a...
Absolutely.
So I'm wondering if that's what it does. It just, for some reason, that feeling of oppression and paralysis triggers off this image of somebody looming over you and pressing down on you, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's probably people watching who know more of the medical terminology of this, but there's a phase where obviously you have like your light sleep and then your REM sleep. And during the REM sleep, your body sends out signals to your motor neurons to stop you moving, and that's to make sure you don't hurt yourself in sleep, pretty much. But there is a point where that can get confused. So you're powerless because your body has paralyzed your muscles, yet you're still kind of semi-awake. And it's that point where people seem to see stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of my experiences, similar to what you described. I just woke up once with this pressure on my chest and this terrible feeling, like being trapped in a bubble, you know, like the bloody or something like that. But yeah, really, really horrible, and just a feeling of dread. But apparently it's really common, and I wish I'd known that at the time. But, you know, no internet.
Had to learn the old school way, which was it's spirits. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. There's another incident where I was awake at the time. I don't know if I'd just been dreaming, but basically just woke up and again, the old house, wooden floors, and something was fucking steaming through my room. Literally just woke up to this banging, like somebody who was really, gearing up to do something, like running really fast and progressively getting faster.
God.
And when I woke, my guitar, which I had on a stand at the time, I was played since I was young, was vibrating. Something had vibrated it. Now, whether it was me waking up in a panic or what, but
Yeah.
in my mind, I woke up and then something stormed through my room.
God, that's actually, I don't know if you can see, that's actually made the hairs raise on, on my arm saying that.
Yeah, well, it didn't help that obviously I think like the room I was in had been the centre of a lot of the noises and that, which my mum and dad were talking about as well, because quite often you'd hear things, moving around, footsteps, and the skeptic in me always just puts it down to the house again itself, an old house, various noises. We had mice and rats in it at one point when we first moved there. It was in a state, so a big old rats roaming around in the loft and that. So yeah.
And it is amazing how much noise a single animal can make, even if you just get like a pigeon in the eaves or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. I've had it where it's sound. I think there was a cat on our roof once, and it was loud enough to sound like there was a body, like someone had just dumped a body on the roof, and it was just sliding all the way down. So
definitely,
it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then you hear like most poltergeist cases, reported poltergeist cases, start with a light scratching or something, and you wonder, is it a mouse in the wall, or is it a squirrel or something outside? You don't know, do you?
No, you don't. Oh, awesome, dude. Right, I'm going to have to... we've got actually a few people lined up, so which is always pleasant. But cheers for that, dude. Cheers for kicking us off.
No problem.
Lovely to see you.
Oh, thank you for having me on. Cheers.
And hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, hopefully see you soon, buddy. Take care.
All right, mate. See you soon. Bye-bye.
So
Okay, so that was Ed. Thank you, Mr. Ed. Right, we've got a couple of people lined up here. So we will have Mike Allen Pugh in a second, and after that we've got Kit Thompson. So all my favourite lovely people are in tonight. It's great. So TL says, tried to join the Zoom but can't for some reason. Strange. Keep trying, TL. So we've got some other people who've managed to join in. So if you can get in, that would be awesome. Atta said, negative, was it energy stays there? So in our culture, we do not stay places that bad things happen. Well, I don't know, actually. I know quite a lot of people who are living in places where bad things happen, and bad things still continue to happen. Carillion photography. I've read bits about it and I've seen things, but I don't know is there much of a science behind that? Does it stand up to sort of scientific scrutiny? It'd be interesting. If anyone knows, please do tell me. TL says, in my youth I had a ghost busting business. My son has one too. I had, and he has 100% success rate in resolving issues. It was never paranormal. That's the thing. A lot of these things can be explained by science. We sort of just, especially if you've got an overactive imagination, you can just jump to all sorts of conclusions. But even so, as like Ed was saying, the manifestation of seeing something and experiencing these things, even if it isn't paranormal, it's still really fascinating to hear what people go through. So some of the experiences I've had, which I can't explain some of them, and I would love to be able to find out what exactly that it was, just to get more of an understanding of, the environment, the atmosphere, the, what synapses are triggering in the brain. I'm well interested. Okay, so we are going to get Mr. Mike Allen Pugh. Hopefully he is ready. Please, before you come into the stream, people, check your microphones, make sure everything is working. If you can do audio and video as well if you wish. If not, you can just do audio. No problem at all. So let's bring in Mr. Mike Allen Pugh. We'll take that off for now and see if... Right, he's in. Mr. Mike, can you hear me?
Hello.
Oh, there he is. Oh, how are you doing, dear boy?
I can hear you.
You might have to... Oh, excellent. We've got video. Oh, cool. We've got video too. Good lad. Nice background. Well done. That's what I like to see. You may have to mute... Am I coming through on a stream or am I coming through in chat?
You're coming through absolutely fine here anyway.
Ah, perfect. Okay, so TL, we're friends on Facebook. So what I'll do is after I've spoken to Kit, we'll get it set up so that you can call via Facebook Messenger. There's a little phone icon, and we'll bring you in and we'll work it that way. Right, Mr. Mike, you've told me that you've got many stories to tell.
Yeah, to say the least. And you're talking about flying books off the shelves first. That has actually happened to me back in the days of me being obsessed with Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page and Crowley and stuff like that. Went into a bookshop, the old Castle bookshop in Hay-on-Wye. And I was walking along, just me in the place. There was nobody else. And this book flew off the shelf, swear to God, straight in front of me. And it was the Confessions of Aleister Crowley. I swear to God, that was the first time I've ever been quite freaked out.
I can imagine.
So I've no idea, but yeah. So I've had various things happen over time. It's one of these things that I just go. I don't go out looking for. I tend to, from what I know, pick up negative, bad stuff. I have no idea why at all, but to give you an example of just of one anyway, a friend of mine invited me along to a circle because she knew I picked up stuff and I told her what happened in the past, and I said, all right, then fair enough, we'll just sort of go. And so we all sat around, and all of a sudden, there was in the right-hand corner of my eye, there was a large flash, and I remember that very, very well. About a few seconds later, my feet were freezing. And it literally, as if the cold went all the way up, and I started shaking. I felt sick, just completely out of the blue, without feeling, perfectly fine beforehand, put it that way. And the chap that was running it said, "Oh, she likes you." And
it's got a funny way of showing it.
Yeah, exactly. I thought to myself, whoever it is, tell her to just do one, because I just get out. And it affected me pretty much. Eventually, it went. He managed to get whatever it was to go. And I felt really quite odd for the rest of the night. But it felt better. I wasn't cold or anything else like that. But it was really, really, really strange. But I've had various things in all sorts of places. There was a nightclub in Derby that I used to go to. And the first time I ever went in it was the last time I ever went in it. And that was, I was standing by the banisters, and it was as if, again, there was the sickness, cold, stomach, considering it was blinking hot in this place as well.
Yeah.
And I was standing by the banisters, and if something was pushing me back from it. And so I went away, I came back, same thing happened again. I tried this about 3 or 4 times, and I thought, obviously, no idea why. It's just a banister, for heaven's sake. There's about 4 of them here, all the way up. And I explained it. I said to my mate, I'm sorry, but I can't stay in here for some reason. And I said, I'll meet you next door in Gaslight. And my mate of mine came around to me the next day. He said, are you all right? And you seemed a bit strange that night or whatever like that. And I explained to him what happened. And he said, there's something that it didn't get out to the press, because one of his mates is a bouncer there. And there was a young girl that threw herself off that banister.
Shit.
And other people have had strange things where it is just that banister, but it never got out to the press because it would have done, not a great thing.
Bad for the reputation of the place.
Yeah, exactly. So it was sort of like, underneath, and there we go. So that was one of them. And there was another pub not so far down the road that a friend of mine went and bought, and he said, "Oh, just come along and have a look around the place and whatever." And it's it's old. I've been in lots of old places. There's no problem with them at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I walked into this one room, same thing again, and I looked up at the ceiling and I thought, what hell happened in here? And I thought, I've just got to get out of this place. I cannot stick it. And then I went into another room next to it, and the same thing happened again. And I don't understand this at all. So I've got to get out of here. I just can't. I cannot tolerate this. And then he told me exactly what had happened. There'd been hangings in two of the rooms, two boys.
Shit.
I had no idea. Absolutely swear to God, I've got no idea. And he said, "Oh yes, we've had people going back and forth around the corridors. You can hear them when there's nobody there. We've got people downstairs turning optics up and down and things like that. But there was nothing downstairs. I couldn't feel anything at all." And I mean, there's another a similar thing happened to a venue just down the road as well. Doing it up, I walked down the corridor and I can't stay here. I've got to get out of here. And apparently there'd been sightings of something, somebody, in this place as well. So it's a little bit too coincidental for me, because I'm pretty level-headed. You know me, I'm like, I don't sort of start believing in crazy shit and whatever like that.
Yeah.
But it just is very, very coincidental. And another weird thing is when my wife and I went down to Rye and we decided, oh, let's go on a ghost walk. And she said, oh, let's see if you'll pick anything up.
Is that where the you've got the Mermaid pub in Rye?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
yeah, I went in the Mermaid, couldn't feel a damn thing.
A beautiful pub though, if you ever get a chance to.
It's
absolutely stunning.
Yeah, it really, really is. And we went up this old path past some houses, and I turned to my wife and I said, I don't know what is in that house, I said, but I absolutely hate it. And it's just like a row of houses on a cobble street. Like
Boris Johnson?
Is yeah, it could be Priti Patel sitting there or something. Yeah, that would haunt anybody. But I walked past this and I said, I got a really bad feeling about that house. I don't know what it is. Again, stomach is flipping. Went past it, absolutely fine. But I was drawn to that house.
Yeah.
We got to the top and the guide went, one of these houses is exceptionally haunted and none of the people in Rye will go in it. But it's actually a holiday cottage. And I turned around and said, I can tell you exactly which one it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, because he obviously didn't want people to say what.
You can tell me in private, and I'll book in there for a whole day.
Which one it was, but yeah, the people in Rye will not go into this. It's serious poltergeist city apparently, as a holiday cottage. It's all sorts of entertainment. But I got the same thing. I had something in Rye Castle, where some friends were in with us, and I went into a totally different zone. I don't know when I went into it. I came out of it, and then the next thing I knew, my wife and my friends and the tour guide was there with a flashlight, flashing just in my face, and absolutely no idea what the hell I was doing there. And they were just sitting there looking at me as if going, like, "You went completely white. What happened?"
Jesus.
And I don't remember much of it at all. It was as if time just passed. And he said, "Oh, you know, these sort of things happened in this place. Didn't get it in any of the other places there. You know, even though they said it was haunted and stuff. So it's not these things you just go and look for. It's there, and I don't know why."
Do you get the same? Do you get a sort of different degrees of response, various responses, or does your body tend to have the same reaction whenever you're around?
It's the same reaction. It's the same reaction. It's the same thing. It's the cold. It's the sick. The sweating. The sort of confusion, almost panic, as if you just want to back out. And I've walked into places again just to test to see whether or not my reactions are still the same, but not look to say, oh, I'm going to feel like this. It's the fact is you do.
Yeah.
And it's really sort of quite odd. And I've tried to, think about it. But I've had people coming up to me, and saying, oh, you've got the gift. Why don't you let them in? And I'm like, well, I'm letting who in? And what? My wife's always saying, go to circles and stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, because that's how you feel. I don't bloody well want to know about it, to be quite honest. So,
one sec, just go on. Sorry, just got to quickly answer Kit. No problems, dude. I'll keep you in the room, and then when you're back, just let me know, and we'll bring you into the conversation. So, carry on, dear boy.
Yeah. So I mean, there's all sorts of things. I've seen my grandfather. He died when I was very young.
Hmm.
Um, and there was an old man standing at the bottom of the bed. I woke up. I was just about to do some exams at university, actually, my second year. Um, and this old boy was bottom of the bed, plain as day. And he said something to me, and I went, "That doesn't make any sense." And then I said to my mum, and she went, "Oh my God." She said, "That's what your grandfather used to tell you." And I got no recollection that he used to call me this phrase at all. It's
Yeah.
completely, random. But I remember seeing him, but I've not seen anything else at all. There was a lady that used to work in my parents' shop that Glennis used to scoff at the idea of ghosts and stuff like that, but she went to a friend's house to do some decorating in the kitchen, and this lady went straight across in front of her, and she could see her as plain as day in white, and she couldn't move at
God.
all. And then you try telling her after that there's no ghosts, and she she'd give you what for, because I
Yeah.
used to just take the piss, and back then I didn't experience anything, but I remember that very well. It's all very, very strange, my friend, to say the least.
Un-
And I'd like to say that I'd be, I, the universe is a very, very big place.
mm.
Um, I don't, as far as beliefs are concerned, I don't know if there's a god, a he or a she or an it or anything else like that, whatever. But I don't believe that people, you, I, and anybody else, can just disappear into thin air, sort of thing, and never be. There's got to be, there has to be energy's energy. So I really, really don't know. It's the great mystery, isn't it?
Well, there's the idea, and obviously, I mean, science can disprove this, I'm sure, but it's just a concept. Is that obviously energy can only be transferred; it cannot be destroyed. So energy
No.
has to go somewhere. Now,
Yes.
I'm always very intrigued by the whole idea of people during operations when they say they leave their body, they describe what is going on during the operation from, generally from an angle that, so I'm looking down on myself, I can see the surgeon doing this, I could see them doing this, etc., etc. So with that in mind, obviously this can probably be, probably the majority of that can be explained by scientific means. But if there is an element of us that, if our energy and consciousness are somehow, because obviously the human mind is still under intense scrutiny, and we're still learning so much about it, especially just even what consciousness is, the whole idea behind it. So if energy and consciousness are part of each other, does that mean that a consciousness exists after energy has been transferred? So when you die, does your consciousness leave with that energy as well? It's, who knows?
It's all a very, very big question. But I think unless you've genuinely and sensibly experienced something, it's a very, very hard job to try and undo it.
Yeah.
It's difficult to try and explain to people. I rarely talk about it. I mean, I'm sort of like myself. I thought I'd just come along and tell everybody about it, but generally I tend to keep my mouth shut because people think, oh, he's talking shit, But it's pointless making, we make this stuff up. I mean, it just isn't. I mean, people have seen my reaction, and I've not known. It's just come out of the blue. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, is it a good thing that's making me feel bad? Is it a bad thing that's making me feel bad? I mean, I absolutely haven't a clue. But it is something that is very, very, very much affecting me, and in exactly the same way all of the time. I've only ever had anybody come into my head once, completely randomly in a place.
Okay.
And I could hear that voice as plain as I can hear you now.
Mm.
And it was almost as if I was just going, hang on, wait a minute, what was that? And
Yeah.
it was just the most random thing. I mean, a completely random thing. And we happened to be in a churchyard, and that was just very, very, very odd. I mean, it's very, very strange. But it's the other things that I can't say. I could walk into the same places now, probably, maybe get the same reaction. I don't know. But all I know is when I repeated the situation that over the same day, I got it.
The ones that always fascinate me are the ones where people go to a new place, a place they've never been before. They're not primed beforehand. They don't have any prior knowledge of the place, and they walk in and they experience something, and then it gets. I mean, obviously, with people in some of these places, they probably have a vested interest in pushing the idea of, like in haunted places, especially hotels, pubs, because it can attract punters. But when you experience something and you mention it, and they say, "Oh, this actually happened in this room," that's because generally especially if something like horrific, like people hanging themselves, that generally doesn't happen in most houses, or like severe tragic deaths or murders. In the vast majority of buildings, unless it's pubs and very frequented public places, in just normal houses, that generally doesn't happen. So if you go into a house, have a reaction and say, "I felt this in this room," and someone said, "This happened in this room," there's got to be some connection, whether it's paranormal, whether it is whether it could be explained by science. Is there something residual there that we pick up on?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, give you a really good example. A friend of mine was a barman at the Dolphin in Derby, which is a hellishly haunted place apparently, and bar staff generally don't have to last long down the cellar, and the cellar is incredibly haunted. So he said, "Oh, just come down in the cellar." I went down there, couldn't feel a damn thing. I knew it was haunted, but as far as I was concerned, I could have been down there changing barrels, and who cares? So at that particular time, I was down there. I could have maybe gone down a different time and felt differently. I don't know, but I knew the fact that it was haunted. But no. But these sort of places, well, probably except the castle, but anything else, they don't even look haunted, for crying out loud. If there's a haunted look to it, but it was just totally and utterly random.
Yeah,
it's completely random. I can't explain it, but it's just the repetitiveness and how come these places I didn't know anything about or the history of it, but there was something that happened. Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah, and
who knows?
Yeah, Atta has just said we talk about issues that we cannot observe in labs, and again, the human mind and consciousness and atmospheric conditions when you're outside around places, it might just be a complete maelstrom of just moments or entities that in that moment all combine to produce a something, and it's just very difficult to replicate, but there's definitely something to it. We just don't know yet what it is. I don't think.
Absolutely. That's very, very true.
And Atta also says there are houses in the USA, they give you a great amount of money if you stay there a night. See, things like that I'm always a bit skeptical of, because you would need to make sure that there is nobody interfering in that in any way, that there's nobody trying to scare you. There's certain places in England where some of these places notoriously haunted, and they're in all the sort of guidebooks and everything. But again, you don't know how much people are pushing that from the background and how much they're playing a hand in it.
Exactly. I mean, there's other places I've been on note, like Tretower Castle down in where is it? Just down by Abergavenny, actually. That's one of the most haunted places in the world. I mean, in Britain easily, apparently. But you've got all the. I watched the most haunted things. I couldn't used to bear that. I thought they're completely false. But there we go. Derek Cora, seriously.
The Mary Loves Dick episode was the most priceless thing I've ever seen.
It reminded me of a psychic evening I got dragged along to, and I just was getting this guy in knots, and he just panicked and went, "Oh, it's time for a psychic break." It was like, I see an old man. Oh, that narrows it down a bit. Oh, we may be in war uniform.
I'm gonna use
really narrows it down.
I'm gonna use that during sex next time when I'm getting tired. It's time for a psychic break. Okay.
Yeah, it was in St. Anne's Castle actually, which another haunted area, especially on the square. But yeah, it's very, 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 very strange. I think it's one of these things you just got to keep your mind open about, and things happen. There's reasons or not, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Life's a great mystery.
Indeed. Much money, Benny. Dude, lovely to see you, as always.
You too.
So take care, and I shall speak to you soon, hopefully.
Yeah, will do, my friend.
All the best, buddy. Take care.
Okay, bye for now. Bye.
Aw, I do love Mike. He's a fantastic guy. Okay, so we are going to try and get TL on now. So we're going to use via the medium of Facebook chat. So I have this set up just in case. I will find him. He is on my Facebook. There he is. Let us give him a call and see what happens. Oh, hello, dear boy. Are you there?
Hey, Mike.
Yay! It's working. I can hear you.
Okay, I can't see you, but
That's okay. We'll probably have to hang on. If we keep because of the quality of signal I get in here, we'll probably have to keep it just on audio for now, if that's okay. Oh, hang on. Hang on. I think we've lost him there. One moment. Let's try again. Bear with us, everybody. Oh, lots of popping noises. Hello, are we there? Can you hear me? Are you there, TL? Oh, there we go. I think you're here. I think I can hear you. No.
yeah, I'm here.
Oh, excellent. We'll have to probably keep it just as an audio call due to the fact that I have very crap signal where I am on my phone, if that's okay with you.
Mike,
Oh, can you hear me?
for some reason, Mike, I am getting a delay, like big time, in your signal, along with an. It's
Okay, we'll have to. She'll try something else to get hold of TL. So apologies for that. Okay, while we try and sort TL out, I think Kit is Kit back with us. I can see he's in the waiting room. But if anyone else wants to come in, have a chat, the details are there. Total delay. I'm not sure why that is, dude. It might just be because of it might be the Facebook chat, perhaps. We'll try a different way. If Zoom isn't working, maybe if we do this again, we'll try it another way. We shall see what we can do. I was hearing things from a minute ago. God. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, we'll try something at a later point and see if we can get it working. Hey, okay, Kit is here. Excellent. So let's bring Mr. Kit in. Let's admit that sexy bastard. Hey, okay, Kit is here. Excellent. So let's bring Mr. Kit in. Right, Kit, you may want to mute the stream, otherwise you're going to get a nice delay.
Okay, hang on. hang on one sec.
That's all right. 'Tis nay bother.
Right.
How are you doing, sir, by the way?
Yeah, good, thank you.
In your new house?
How are you?
Check you.
Yeah. I have turned YouTube off because, yes, I had YouTube and Zoom running, so it was pretty stupid of me. Really.
That's fine. No problem.
Hopefully it's okay. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. All the better for seeing your sexy face.
Oh, thanks. I've got two screens, one here and one here, and the camera's right in the middle, so I'm never going to be looking at you. I'm going to be looking off to the side.
That's fine. You look wherever you like. It's your voice we're interested in. TL says, hey, you skinny stud.
Yeah, I had to come on. There's a few things. I mean, the first thing to say is, if you said, do I believe in ghosts? I don't really know the answer to that, but a few things have happened over the years where Leanne and I, individually and together. And I think when something happens together and there's two of you that witness the same event, it adds a lot more credibility because you kind of think, oh, it's not just me that's going mad, it's both of us at the same time.
Agreed.
So one of the houses we used to live in, that I used to own about 10 odd years ago, the first place Leanne and I lived in together, we had an incident where, and I can only describe it as, we were in bed and it was pretty late, and the hallway leading up to the bedroom upstairs on the first floor landing was carpeted, and obviously under the carpet was padded underlay, as you'd expect. But what it sounded like from our bedroom, and the door was shut, was that we had a bare wooden floor, and it sounded like a bowling ball was rolling really slowly down the corridor. It's the only way I can describe it. It would have been the noise of a heavy metal bowling ball, something like that, rolling slowly but really loudly on a wooden floor. And it got louder and louder and louder until the point where there was this God almighty crash on our bedroom door that sounded like someone had thrown a bowling ball or a telly or something heavy at the door. It was that loud. Jesus. And at the time, that was pre-children, no pets in the house, just us two, and we were both absolutely shit ourselves, to be honest. Similar other things that happened, we'd woken up, I think other people have described this before, but we'd woken up unable to move. I know sleep paralysis is a thing, but almost feeling like pinned to the bed to the point where someone's kneeling on you and you can't get up. Yeah. Things like feeling the cat or the dog jump on the bed when, dog's downstairs in the kitchen, but you're almost certain it's jumped on the bed and it's on your feet, and it isn't. And in the same house, Leanne, I was out at work, Leanne was at home, so I think she popped home for lunch or something, and she always said that she had an uneasy feeling on the landing, the same landing where we heard that noise, and she was walking up the stairs with a wash basket, and when she got to the top, the last sort of 3 or 4 steps was like you had to turn around to get up the top of the landing on that last bit, and at that point she felt someone push her down the stairs, and she fell with the washing basket backwards down the stairs, and she, bless her, hit her head. Shit. Luckily she had her mobile phone in her pocket, and I remember actually her ringing me and saying, "You're not going to believe this, I'm in the house on my own, but I feel like I've just been pushed down the stairs." And I obviously came home, and she was convinced that she was pushed down the stairs, basically. That's horrible. She's pretty bloody spooky, yeah. This is all in the same house? I think this is in the same house, yeah, which we're quite glad to see the back of. I outed that a couple of years ago, but I let after we moved out, I rented it out for about 10 years, and at no point did my tenant or any tenant I'd ever had in there ever say to me that they had anything like that happen to them. But we had sort of numerous things. Leanne reminded me actually that she would often hear me come in, call her, shut the door behind me, an hour before I'd come home, on many occasions, and I just quite simply wasn't there. It's very peculiar, isn't it? Did you find that, like Mike was talking about, obviously sort of sensations that you feel? Did you ever feel, apart from when you heard noises and things, before that, would you get any uneasy sensations, any strange feelings at all? No, I can't say that I did, other than I think the incident. Sorry, there's a small child hovering around. Yeah, don't ask. Mummy will be downstairs probably watching on the telly, so she'll realise Aria's just got up out of bed. No, I never used. No, I didn't. I didn't have any of that sort of the things Mike described, other than literally being terrified and cracking myself. I mean, that incident where I described the sort of bowling ball, rolling down the hall. It's the only way I can describe it, and it was really loud, and the thud on the door. I mean, it's just completely and utterly unexplained, because it whatever hit the door, whatever made that noise was so heavy, and the noise was just so loud. I mean, we genuinely were both pretty bloody scared at that point to open the door.
Well, the thing is, I mean, with something of that size, would there have been, from an educated guess from how it sounded, did the door move at all? Was there any actual impact?
It was like this was. I mean, from memory, it was probably early hours. The lights were off. I don't actually think, as daft as it sounds, I don't think either of us got up, turned the light on, and opened the door and looked. I think we were literally. It was like, right, we both heard that, yeah. And pulled the duvet up and hid. Do you know what I mean?
No, that is the strangest thing, though, isn't it? That is our go-to. We kind of, I've experienced a few things.
The magic duvet.
Yeah,
that'll save you from any intrusion.
That'll protect me from the forces of darkness.
I suppose the most plausible explanation actually would have been an intruder in the house, but that didn't actually cross my mind. I mean, at the time, I had convinced myself it was some sort of paranormal disturbance. I suppose logically thinking back now, I probably should have checked that someone hadn't broken into the house.
But that's what I think there's something to that, because, for example, if you heard somebody moving downstairs, generally you'd think, shit, someone has broken in. But when these kind of things happen, these very odd, peculiar things, we have a completely different response. So, like, if Leanne woke up and said, Kit, I've just heard someone I think I've heard someone downstairs, you'd be like, shit, right, okay, go and check this out, see what's going on. But like you say, you hear this odd noise that you can't make head nor tail of, and this big bang, and rather than thinking, shit, someone's upstairs and about to break in, you're like, okay, let's hide under the duvet. Why is it we get that response with certain things?
Yeah.
It's really odd.
The thing that's saying about, Leanne hearing me come in and call her and go, hi babe, I'm home, and the door go and everything, and then I'd walk in, half hour later, and she'd go, have you been in already? Like, I heard, and I'd say, no, like, I'm not messing with you, like, honestly, I haven't. And exactly the same thing happened to me as a kid, growing up in the house I grew up in with my mum and my brother in Blenheim Chase and Lee. And we would regularly hear, I'd be upstairs in my room, and I'm talking like, kid, 10, 12 years old, and I'd hear mum come in, Kit, Scott, I'm home, kind of thing, and she wasn't in, she just wasn't in, and it was as clear as day, it was, it was mum, and Leanne said exactly the same. It was you, you came in, you said hello, you shut the door, and I'll come downstairs to ask you how your day was, and you weren't there. It's really weird. The only other thing I'll probably mention, and this is, my dad now lives out in Texas, as you know, and he lived with me for a while over here before he met Angie and moved over there, his now wife. And at the time when they were reunited, about 12 years ago now, I'd moved Dad into my house and showed him how to use the internet and the chat room at the time and stuff. And Angie had been Dad's drum tech on tour years and years ago. So they'd known each other and kind of been friends, but we're talking like 80s. Yeah. And then they didn't actually get together as a kind of couple and stuff many moons later. So that's how they kind of knew one another. And at the time, they were both having a pretty rough time in their respective lives for one reason or another. But and Dad was a complete technophobe. Like he didn't use the internet. He didn't know how to use a computer. He was one of those, type like this with two fingers, and it still uses capitals actually. And if he's watching, thinking, oh, here's this, apologies. But, he's one of those types in capitals, punctuation's terrible.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they were able to reconnect via the internet. And unfortunately, Angie's mum at the time, her dad had passed away. They were talking on a webcam, much like this, although it was probably dial-up and pretty crap at the time. But they were able to chat face-to-face via webcam and just spent hours and hours kind of talking. Dad was having a pretty rough time for various reasons, but Angie's dad had passed and her mum was at home in the house. She was quite poorly, and she was in her last few days of life.
Yeah.
In the last few hours. And whilst, and I was there witness this, so whilst I was home, Dad was with me. He was chatting to her in the hours leading up to her mum's passing, and we kind of knew, the doctors had been, and it's like to say your final goodbyes and everything now. And when she passed, the webcam was actually running, and we could see Angie sit like I am now, sitting here at the computer chatting to us, and a figure of a man that wasn't as clear as you or I, but not like a ghostly apparition, not a white, see-through ghost. There was a clear, dark hair, skin kind of coloured, albeit no features, blurry, a sort of red cardigan or something on the camera, visibly seen, that my dad and I could see our end. And I remember taking a screenshot of it, and Angie said that that's her dad had come to get his mum, basically.
God, you literally made all the hairs go up.
I swear to, and it wasn't even like Dad told me this happened. I was there with him, and on an old computer somewhere would have been this screenshot that we'd taken, and Angie couldn't see it in the room.
Yeah.
In Texas, in the house that I've since visited and stayed in, and there's another story about that as well, because I've since seen her mum when I went over there.
Right.
But we sent the screenshot to her, probably email or messenger or something at the time, and she said, that's my dad. She said, that's my hunched over. She said, the posture, the colour of the hair, the red top or whatever that was being worn, and she had no doubt in her mind that her dad had come to meet his wife and see her onto the afterlife or whatever. Now, if you say, do you believe in ghosts after a story like that? I don't know. I don't know what we saw, what we witnessed, but it freaked me out.
Yeah.
And Dad, it really did. I've been to Texas about 10 times and stayed in that house. Leanne's been over once before we had Ollie, so 8 years ago. And we both saw what we believed to be, Angie's mum in the house. Didn't have a bad feeling whatsoever about it. It wasn't even particularly scary, but we were in the bedrooms, an ensuite, bathroom, archway, and in the mirror we saw a lady sitting on the bed, pretty much clear as day, and turned around and she wasn't there. And
you both saw that?
Yeah, we both saw that. Yeah, and the house is since Dad's moved into the house, it's probably a bit like my garage and a lot of your house. It's sort of music's taken over, so. It was a house and that's a studio. I mean, he has bands come in and they stay with them and eat with them and record, and sometimes for days or weeks at a time, someone will come in and record an album or something, and they sort of become part of the family. They literally have to sit down and have a meal with them, and coffee's on the go all the time. It's a really nice, relaxed environment. And but the living room is now, it's a live room with a kit and piano and bits and bobs, and there's like a little control room off to the side. Where it does the mixing and stuff like that. And as you walk down that corridor, it's like a lot of American houses. It's a single-story sort of bungalow, I suppose, detached place with a double garage. And as you walk down that corridor past what is now the control room to that, to where the double garage would be, I've always had that sense of not being scared actually, but just slightly uneasy and just kind of aware of the presence, and that's the only thing I can say. Yeah. And I saw, I saw her mum there as well, and say like we saw her sitting on the bed, clear as day, pretty much.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. And you would say, having experienced those things, that like conclusively, like I believe in ghosts. And even now, if you say to me, "Do you believe in ghosts?" I honestly don't know. And I know, based on what I've said, the answer should probably be yes, but. I don't know. I'm not a religious person. I don't necessarily. I'm not convinced about an afterlife. I don't know. I'm completely open to that, and there's definitely like an energy and an aura around people, and I'm completely open to the fact that after your body dies, it's possible that you know, a spirit or whatever you want to call it does live on. So I don't know. No, I'm kind of, the jury's out, but those things did happen to me, and I wasn't drunk or high or anything at the time. So.
No, I think it's always good, as you say, you can obviously be skeptical, try and explain it away as best as you can, but don't necessarily rule out, just for the sake of it, that there might not be something more to it, especially something like that where, as you say, multiple people experience the same thing at the same time or even separate times. It's especially the thing, as you said, with the how good would it have been to find that picture of the visiting father? That would be incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. I mean, and maybe Angie does have it, and I'll ask her, and if she does, I'll get it across to you, because I can remember it like clear as day, and it seemed a strange thing to do, to take a screenshot when, you know, my mum was literally passing away at that moment. But it was just such a surreal moment that Dad and I witnessed this end of the camera, you know, in the UK, and she's over there in Texas. And you know, bearing in mind, like Zoom, and it's all commonplace now, but sort of 12 odd years ago, it wasn't, you know, it certainly wasn't as good. But, you know, it was all chat rooms and stuff. So it was quite a novelty to have the webcam and have the ability to be able to have a chat with someone, you know, the other side of the world. And it does sound like, looking back, almost an insensitive thing to do, but my reaction was to take a screenshot, and I did, and I remember when we sent it over, and Angie just was, as you know, she was utterly convinced, you know, she didn't even hesitate. She said, "That's my dad. You know, that's my dad come from my mum."
God. Right, I think on that is a marvellous place to end this chat. So I'm going to get TL in. He thinks he's might have sorted things. So cheers for that, dude. That was really awesome.
Mate, pleasure.
You take care, and we'll see you soon, all right?
You too, pal.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Wow. No, I think we can honestly say, a lot of us, if we saw something like that come on screen, I think we'd take a screenshot of it, just so that we could look back and think, did I actually really see that? Okay, TL, let's give this a try, and let's see what happens. Let us try and call TL back. We are calling him. This is where I get 1 bar of signal. Are you there, dear boy? Oh, hang on, let's make sure that's all plugged in. Hang on.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I think I can. Am I delayed, or can you hear me okay?
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yep, I can hear you, dude. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm presuming is there much of a delay, or can you hear me okay?
No, you sound good now.
Awesome. Finally get you on the show.
I just had to turn your volume down on the show. Was all I had to do. What I was hearing that delay.
Yeah, do not listen to the stream while chatting in real life. Otherwise, that is a complete mindfuck.
Well, this plays kind of good into some of the things Kit said. The eyewitness thing, that really doesn't hold much weight, especially after the fact. I'm going to give you an example of a fake UFO I made. It was just a big, black, huge, giant cellophane bag. I made it into an air balloon. And the cops started coming, so me and the guy that did it, it got away from us. We had it on a string, and it got away from us. So we just kind of ran around the block and then joined the crowd. And these people, a group, it was literally 50 people, had agreed to, we saw aliens in a window.
Yeah.
And then it just suddenly disappeared. We see patterns in things. It's our human nature. We can look at the clouds and instantly see Abraham Lincoln or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
to me, what happens is when our mind doesn't know. I thought Kid had a good answer. His conclusion was, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't know. And in the end, that was his final answer was, I don't know.
Yeah.
But what we don't like that. That's almost against our nature.
Yeah.
We like to know.
Yeah.
So what we do, like when you're a kid, if you're walking down the drive in the dark and you see a shadow, you automatically think it's a ghost or a person, and you might take off running to the house. Well, as a kid, you're left with, most kids, you're left with, I saw a ghost.
Yeah.
But and one thing I want to say about eyewitnesses, and I don't think this is done intentionally at all. I think it's that whole if memory works the same way. If we have an empty spot in our memory, our brain usually subconsciously fills in the blank. We don't like them blank spots. I got a tumor, and that affects my left frontal lobe.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that I face that every day because of my memory. You automatically want to fill it in with something. When somebody asks me, hey, do you remember yesterday when this happened? And I don't, my brain still tries to fill it in, but my instinct now is to say, I don't know, where it used to just try to fill it in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely one of the key things about human beings is our recollection, and this has been proven multiple times through whether it's experimentation, whether it's accounts that have been taken at the time, and then the person has been asked to give an account later on, and the amount that the story changes due to the years passing, it's a definite factor. I mean, and especially as Kit said, he doesn't know. It's a strange situation, something that he can't explain rationally straight off the bat. Doesn't mean that there isn't an explanation for it, a perfectly scientific explanation, but it's also a very peculiar event. And I think that's one of the ones that, and especially when there's several people involved. I've had something similar. A quick story. We were at a church that was notoriously haunted. I think I've told this story before. Some people came into the churchyard. We scared them. They thought we were ghosts. They ran off. And I saw a silhouette of a hunched figure walking by a white wall. And I went over, after it disappeared, I went over to speak to my friend and said, did you see that? Did you see something over by that wall? And she said, yeah, that was you, wasn't it? Thinking that I was playing a prank. And I said, no, I've been over here the whole time. So 2 people who have seen something at the same time. Now, I'm not ruling out it could have been if one of these people from the road had managed to sneak back in and walk along, but it was a very peculiar image and vision that we saw. And the fact that 2 of us experienced it, generally you would think would give more credence to the event.
But you're not sure what it was, so
no.
You're left with, could have been a shadow, could have been one of them people snuck back in.
Yeah, we can't dispute. We can't know for certain. So we can't. This is one of the things I do have a problem with, and this is, as you said, especially people who are that way inclined. If you have, say, you experience something, and there are 5 possible explanations, all of which are a kind of a bit, maybe, possibly. It's the people who jump to, it was a ghost.
Yeah.
It's
so I don't know what it is, but this one makes the most sense to me based on what I know right now.
Yeah, I think that definitely shows an underlying bias, sort of a more a fantastical kind of imagination. If your go-to, before trying to rule out the other things, like with what Kit experienced with the the sounds and the rolling down the corridor and the loud bang. Now, something of that, somebody in my family experienced that in the house they used to live in. In the middle of the night, they heard what sounded like somebody just absolutely wrecking the kitchen. All the doors had been flung over and all the cupboards and everything had just come crashing into the floor. It sounded like absolute carnage. And they came running they came running down the stairs into the kitchen, and there was nothing. Everything was exactly as it was. So something like that again now.
Well, that, for example, being that my field is my career was in electronics, energy can be measured, sound can be measured. I noticed two of you guys use feeling a lot, and that's the problem, is feelings get in the way, especially when we don't know something.
Mm. Oh yeah.
But it's anyway. It's well, I do have to confess, I don't believe in gods or ghosts or any of that stuff. The fact that it can be measured, energy doesn't cease to exist, but it does tend to change into something else.
Mm.
Like a battery, a battery just doesn't go dead. The energy leaks out and changes into a different type of energy.
So what were you saying earlier? You were saying that was it you and your son, did you say, started a paranormal?
No, I did it on my own just for extra money.
Okay.
It wasn't even really a legitimate business. I just started out doing it for a couple of people I knew, and they would tell somebody else, and they would tell somebody else. So I was doing it quite often for a few years. And I always 100% of the time was able to prove what it was.
What was the most? Because I think this would be an interview all in its own. Something along these lines, sort of confessions of a paranormal investigator. But what were some of the most ridiculous things that you found people had convinced themselves that it was a ghost? And
well, I don't know if it's ridiculous for them, because I kind of understand it, how energy works. They might not.
True.
So, but the most obscure thing, I guess, is noises, music. They hear somebody talking, and quite often they really do hear somebody talking. I've found from things from improper ground kind of made it become an antenna, sort of. You know how the old radios where you take a nail and you wire, two nails and wire. Yeah. It happens to be on the right frequency, so it just occasionally picks up a noise. Sometimes location of pipes. The pipes are too close together, you can get some pretty weird noises out of that sound like banging, and things like, as you described earlier, sounded like things were thrown in the kitchen. Air pipes can make some of the weirdest noises. They can vibrate the pipe so bad you feel like your house is going to fall down.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder. Well, again, with like the noises Kit experienced, it's tricky, isn't it? Because you can't always replicate. There can be sort of certain conditions, as we said, elemental conditions.
I didn't bother with the ones where people just said one time I saw. The ones I bothered with were people repeatedly came to me and said, it happened again. Yeah. I would ask them to let me know if it happened again. Then if it was pretty constant, then I would do it, because I had plenty of customers, so I was pretty picky about what I think mostly what I liked to select was the ones that were the hardest to explain.
What if you could list your top one? What would be the one that maybe sort of made you have to really dig deep to try and find an explanation? One that had you flummoxed for a while. There's a good English word for you there, flummoxed.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, hello, Verica.
I would think one time a lady kept hearing her mom talking to her at night. And I knew her mom, so she invited me to spend the night one night to see if it happened, because she said it happens almost night. And it was at the same time at night every night. So sure as heck, we heard it. But it sounded like, kind of sounded like when you talk in a pipe.
Okay.
But I just couldn't locate it. I just could not find it. As it turned out, they shared a drain, and the drains were supposed to have S curves in it to trap, so you didn't get odor. And they didn't have S curves in it, so it was working like like two cups in a string.
Yeah.
But it took me weeks to find it. And when I found it, it just didn't really sound like it was coming from there. It echoed off the wall. It was a fairly big house with 12-foot ceilings, so it actually sounded like it was coming above us rather than below us.
Okay. It's amazing.
But I finally did it with a modified stethoscope.
So the actual voice, just quickly want to say hello to Verica. It's been a while since she's been on. Verica's kind of on the flip side to you. She said, let me tell you, the paranormal, the other side is real. We never die. I've made contact and continue to do so. Paranormal investigation is absolutely real. And sadly, I didn't know this. I made contact with my fiance, who passed, obviously, and did not lead into the questions, meaning I didn't ask if it was him. He told me it was him through my ghost box, that I find absolutely amazing. So, Verica, really sorry to hear about your fiance. That's horrible. And life is a shit sometimes. But Verica, hang on. Oh, we'd really love to. If it's something you'd be interested in talking about, we'd love to hear from you. Sorry, Tio. What I was going to ask, are you still there?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got someone trying to call me, so he's going to have to wait. Hang on, let me just decline him. With the actual voice that you heard, and that she said sounded like her mother, when you actually discovered the source, was the source sound, did it differ greatly to what she was hearing?
No, not really. It was the person in the next apartment. So we asked her to talk through it just so I could record it, because I had recorded the other, and it did kind of sound like her mom a little bit. I mean, once you know the difference, when I first heard it, it was like, yeah, that does kind of sound like your mom.
So it was just a coincidence then that the person next door actually did just sound like
her.
Well,
yeah, and they were friends, so they hung out and they used the same mannerism and that kind of stuff too. They were pretty good friends, so they kind of had all the same slang and lingo and all that stuff.
That's really interesting. We have to, if you fancy it one day, we'll have to talk about your paranormal investigations in a proper interview, if you'd be up for that.
Oh, yeah, sounds good.
Awesome. I think we're going to have to wrap this up very soon, but really lovely to speak to you, dude. So cheers for coming on and putting shedding a different light on things.
Well, yeah, and just to let people know that's on the other side, I don't think they're lying.
Say again, sorry?
Just for the people that believe differently, I don't think they're lying.
Well, no, this is the thing, isn't it? We're all trying to. This is why I wanted to do a little show like this, because it's not to ridicule people who believe or disbelieve. It's something we experience something, and whether as you've in your situations where you've gone out and you've explored and found answers to certain things, there are still people who haven't been able to answer those questions. So it's always a real intrigue into what creates these things, whether it is paranormal, whether it is scientific. I don't think anybody should be dismissed out of hand or made to feel bad, because
it's kind of hard to talk about, because even though I don't think they're lying, I think they're dead wrong.
Yeah.
I think.
No, and
so it's kind of hard.
Yeah, but to them,
about
what they experience can be incredibly real.
Yeah.
And
without a doubt, they generally experience something. I just don't think. I mean, most people, they don't through everyday life, when something like that happens, they just, it must have been this, and they leave it at that. We don't have time to spend hours and days and months trying to figure out what something was. We just, it must have been, and then we go on.
Yeah, exactly. All right, dude. Thanks for calling in. Pleasure as always, and hope to speak to you soon.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Right. Awesome. I've really enjoyed this evening, ladies and gents. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and so it's really nice to get you guys involved. I'm going to try and do some more of these if I can. We'll talk about a range of subjects. We may revisit the paranormal thing again. Verica, sounds really interesting what you do, and it would be really cool to, obviously, if it's something you'd be comfortable, obviously it's an incredibly personal thing to you. Yeah, one day that would be absolutely amazing. But obviously, want you to feel completely comfortable. It's a very, very personal thing for you, obviously, especially, say, with a fiancé who's passed. But if you'd be willing to chat, would love to chat to you and hear your stories and everything you've got to say. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. So, as I say, I've really enjoyed tonight. Definitely be doing more of these various subjects that we can, hopefully everyone have various stories of experiences that they can talk about. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. So all the best. Thank you to everyone who tuned in and came in and got involved in the chat. It's awesome. Guys, you're going to be blown away. Sweet. Excellent. All right. Take care, everyone. Mwah. All the best. See you soon.